but pass more sheet one. All being sober ever did was give me life, and I don't want it. Burning holes in my brain. Cocaine.
Hey everyone, we're live now, hopefully, and I should probably take this off for a slides. There we go, more like that.
Nice.
Position. Hey everyone, welcome to the Garret Schuelke podcast, episode 7. I think I got that one right. I am your host, Garret Schuelke, and I'm back in my hometown of Alpena, visiting my folks this weekend. And here for today's podcast is a friend of mine. His name is Victor Kahn.
Hi everyone, I'm an Alpena native, so I guess that's relevant to the Alpena trip.
Oh really? I thought you were actually originally from Harrisville.
I was originally from Mankato, but my parents got divorced when I was about 5, and so we moved up here. So I went to all of kindergarten and one day of first grade in Alpena, and ever since I went to all of grade school and junior high and even high school and 2 years at ACC, more like 2.5 because I was on the not graduate on time plan.
Oh shit!
That's what happens.
We literally just got your whole origin story before I asked.
Oh, there's way more origin story than that.
Well, before we begin, Victor Kahn is a Alpena native, musician, meme lord,
denizen of the internet.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to put it. And thanks for being on, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed your last podcast. I learned a lot about socialism that I didn't know before.
Oh, yes, me and my good friend from Kalamazoo, Andy Argo.
I also learned a lot about the Kalamazoo homeless crisis, and now it makes sense when I see on M Live all the time about homeless encampments in Kalamazoo.
Oh, have you kept up on that?
I read a lot of news stories because, the internet. So it was nice to actually be able to get a different perspective on it, because M Live doesn't always give a great story about everything. Sometimes their journalism is slightly slanted.
And that's what happens when you make a media conglomerate. I'm actually surprised the Alpena News hasn't been sucked up yet. Like I think they control the big papers downstate. Grand Rapids Press, the Kalamazoo Gazette, Detroit Free Press, I think.
Well, the Alpena Hospital got bought out, so there's still time. There's still time for Alpena to be controlled by every major corporation.
Whoa. Mark Hunter, chill out.
See, I haven't even read the Alpena News in a long time. A friend of mine, Eric Benak, I think wrote for the sports section for a while. One of my friends on Facebook, Steve Schulwitz, writes for the Alpena News. And he and I's politics way differ, but he shares some pretty decent memes, so I let it slide.
Oh, there you go. That's kind of how you determine your friendships.
Yeah, I mean,
by the memes they got.
Really, I'm all over the place politically and socially, and so I read feminist blogs and I read men's rights blogs, not because I believe in men's rights, but just to laugh at some of the things.
You mean men rights subreddits?
Oh, you are absolutely right there.
Oh God!
Although I have read some of the terrible blogs like Reality Kings, just because they're
Wait, Reality Kings, isn't that a porn site?
Or it's Return of Kings or something like that. I think I get what sucked me in because I love Tolkien was Return of Kings. This must be a Tolkien blog. No. He's talking about how to bed women in as few steps as possible with the maximum amount of lying happening.
The moment I knew I would not ever be interested in being part of the men's rights movement was this is a pretty infamous thread on the subreddit, on the Reddit forum. I'm not on Reddit, so I'm never on Reddit, so I really don't know the jargon or terms. I think it's some guy that claimed that he fucked some girl, he went to sleep, then he woke up and found her scrounging through the garbage. It was like, what are you doing? And she lifts out the condom, lets out some, ha 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 ha. Indicating that she was going to get pregnant that way, and he chased after her, beat her up. So it's be careful, men. Ladies out there are coming for your jizz that you throw in the trash.
Yeah. If you see a woman with a turkey baster, just run, I guess.
After that, I was like, yeah, no.
Those are Bigfoot and UFO stories. I'm pretty sure it's not the reality of the world. And when I say I read feminist blogs and men's rights blogs, I'm not equating the two, so try not to kill me if you see me in person. One has actual problems, like I went to the doctor and they won't give me birth control because they're crazy religious, and the other is like, why won't this girl sleep with me? Not quite the same.
Yeah, geez, life is tough, man.
Yeah,
you
we're
know.
starting off on a great foot here. Let's talk about the internet.
Actually, let's just go into your origin. Okay, Victor Kahn, where are you from officially?
I'm officially from Alpena, although I've spent quite a bit of time in the last years in both Harrisville and Tawas, because I was staying with my dad, and I was living in Harrisville for about 4.5, 5 years, and then I broke up with my girlfriend, so I've been bouncing around between different places ever since, trying to get established again. I just recently moved up here to Alpena, and I started a job at the Fresh Palette, and I'm looking to get a house, and I love searching Zillow for houses on the north side because it's like, oh, this one looks like a murder could be committed in it because it's just so sketchy, and they're like 20 grand, so your mortgage payment would be like $100 a month.
If you were to murder anyone out here, the north side would be a good place. I mean, it's old enough, it can get dark enough. You got the nice paper plant that cover up the smell.
Yeah, that's the one thing I did not miss about Alpena was the smell. Like, as soon as I got back here, like, to one deep breath in the morning, I'm like, ugh, I didn't miss that. Not at all.
I've lived out of Alpena since 2009, and whenever I come back, whenever I get that whiff, it still surprises me, even though I should be used to it because I grew up here. I mean, last night, my folks and I were coming from Austin Brothers Brewery 3rd anniversary party. We were going downtown for Way Out Wayne, see him perform at the Fresh Palette and that wine place I forget the name of.
Thunder Bay Winery.
Thunder Bay Winery, my bad. Holla. Yeah, and yeah, we were going through North Side, and it just hit me like near the CIA restaurant.
Do you know the story about the CIA restaurant? Because every time I drive by, it's not open. So maybe it's you can only get in if you're like a Russian mole or something.
Oh, if only. They all come to Alpena. But no, my folks and I ate in there once. It was all right.
It was all right.
Yeah, my folks actually used to know it back in the day when it was like the hot spot, like the 24-hour place. Kind of like what John Boy's is now.
Yeah.
But that place went out of business. Now it's CIA restaurant, which everyone's like, okay, what's up with the weird name, for one?
Yeah.
And two, why you have these stupid fucking hours?
Yeah, because it's never open when I drive by. Maybe I don't drive by during the, maybe it's like a 2 a.m. type deal. They open when the bars close.
Actually, I think it's more during the day. It's like,
really? Because I swear I've driven by during the day and been super confused.
Well, it's some stupid shit like 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or something.
Oh, yeah, that's probably why I went by at 3. Idiot me.
I don't know. We ate there, and we've ate at worse places, but you're not missing much for now. You might as well just help John Boyce.
Well, I ate at Austin Brothers for the first time probably a week or 2 ago, and I had sushi. And wow, I don't necessarily want to, be like sponsored by Austin Brothers. Austin Brothers, sponsor me. But man, that was good sushi. It also helps that my friend Adam, who I've also played in bands with, is a chef there.
Adam Newman of Murder Party.
Yep. Also known as Chubby McCarlson.
Who now lives up here in Alpena. He promised to make Alpena gray again, and no offense, Chubbs, but he's still got a lot of work to do.
It still stinks.
The north side does, literally and figuratively.
Yeah, I've been staying out at my parents', and they live 10 miles out of town, and this morning, that's what I woke up to, was the smell of particle board, or whatever that stink is.
God. What is it called now? Like, when I grew up as Abitibi.
And then it was ABT Co. I can't keep track of all the corporate buyouts.
Yeah, we just call it Abitibi for the hell of it.
That's the stank. Well, part of my origin story around here is once I was in grade school, like as far as like me being a musician.
That's a good point, folks. When I message these awesome folks I would like to interview, I throw out some subjects I would like to talk about.
So I had to.
I'm glad you remember a lot of it because I don't remember half of it.
Well, I had to think of like good stories, and some of my stories I can't tell because I don't want to speak ill of people, so I'm like racking my brain for like good stories.
Well, I've encountered the same problem too, mostly in Kalamazoo. And it's not really so much people that I want to put in a bad light. It's people I've legitimately have beef with. Like, you block them on Facebook, you glare at each other at shows, that kind of thing. So I just give them, like, a fake name. One where it's like, if you're obviously from the area, you know who I'm talking about, kind of thing.
But it gives you enough plausible deniability that if they listen to your podcast, maybe they wouldn't know exactly that you're talking about them.
Like, if it was Adam Newman, it'd be like, Dadum Tuman.
Yeah, I love pseudonyms like that. Funny, considering Adam Newman, I guess his neighbor has a YouTube channel, and like on his YouTube channel, he was talking smack about Adam because I guess Adam was playing his music too loud one night, and so Adam listened to his video about him, and he's like, "Dude, I live right next to you, and I'm also on the internet. Like, you want to talk smack? This is kind of ridiculous."
God, who is that Alpena? It's not that one Alpena guy who like collects trash and that.
It could be, because he seems like a wee bit of a trashy guy. Like, I'm pretty sure he has a fire in a coffee can every night. And like the one night I was out there, he was like playing with he wasn't just playing, he was like brushing his cats and like speaking to them in only the way that an owner and a cat can talk to each other in like ridiculous voices. He told me he was gonna. He told me he was gonna link me the video, but I haven't seen it yet. So I definitely.
Here's a video of me talking shit about your friend.
Yeah, I love stuff like that. I love all the drama subreddits, like "Am I the Asshole?" or like "Tales from Your Server" or "Petty Revenge." Or
have you been on Alpena Topics?
No, I just finally got added to the Alpena buy, sell, and trade. So.
No. This is not on Facebook. This is on Topics. Topix.
I don't think I've ever been to Topics.
Holy shit, dude. Go on there later on. Is probably the closest you'll get to a cesspool in Alpena.
Well, aside from, just the town in general.
Yeah. No, this is actually worse than the town. Like
a lot of drama?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's pretty much... Think of it like 4chan for Alpena.
Oh, dear Lord.
Everyone, except for like a few jerk-offs who don't know any better, are all anonymous. And sadly, though, it's kind of gone downhill more than it actually was beforehand. A lot more like off-topic shit, like, Trump is the greatest president ever.
Oh, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff that doesn't really have to do with Alpena. But occasionally you'll get something like, the bitch who works out the old Curvans.
I get enough of that on Facebook. I love when I see my friends talking smack about like, oh, the morning crew at the Diamond Point Shell are just terrible. Like they feel like it's a burden for me to come in and want coffee at 7 a.m.
Yeah, it's basically, the good stuff is like that. The other stuff is just ranting about shit that doesn't exactly have anything to do with Alpena.
I wonder what's wrong about me as a person that I enjoy like malicious compliance and silly things like that. Does that mean there's like a black part of my soul that enjoys like silly drama and people getting their comeuppance?
Dude, I wondered that same thing back when I was a teenager. But then again, this was when I was like looking up really fucked up videos online, watching like Faces of Death from Family Video. Yep. Half of it which was bullshit, but that's another topic.
I'm so not into blood that I could never do the Faces of Death. One time I worked at Big Boy and like a glass thing exploded in my hand because it had a crack in it, and I was putting it in the freezer straight from the dishwasher at the end of the night. And it almost blew my thumb off. And as soon as I saw the blood in my thumb, it was like an old cartoon where like all the darkness was closing in on me. And my manager grabbed me. He's like, "You're gonna fade out. Like, keep it together." So like,
hang in there, Victor. We'll get you.
It was funny and it was a school night. I was still in high school, and I had to go to the emergency room and get my thumb stitched up. You can still kind of see the scar a little bit. It went from there.
Oh, I'm rocking that too. When I worked at a restaurant in Schoolcraft, Michigan. And if you can maybe see it a little bit.
Yep.
That was when nothing like really exciting or anything. It's just a glass broke. I tried to pick it up. And then.
Yep. Glass will slice you so quick. And so I'm in the emergency room, and I didn't get home till like maybe 1 a.m. And of course, that's like the thumb on my hand for like fretting guitar. I could miss this thumb totally and just like strum my guitar with a stump, but it's hard to do chords with your left hand when you're right-handed guitar player and not be able to like put your thumb on the back of the neck. So that sucked. I couldn't play guitar for like a good week and a half, 2 weeks, because every time I tried, it would start stretching the stitches, and it just hurt really bad.
Okay, well, let's get back to the origin story.
All right, so origin story.
So you're currently back here.
Yep, I'm currently back here. I'm trying to start a band, so of course that's fun.
Where do you go to school at?
I started at Ella White Elementary, and that's where I really got into music, because I sang in choir both 5th and 6th grade, and I wanted to join the band too, and I had my heart set on playing the drums. So they had a little practice pad and 2 sticks, and I picked up the sticks and dropped them, and they're like, "Here's this trombone," and I'm like, ugh. So I wasn't in band. I was just strictly in choir.
Yeah, was this like your first instance that you like music and wanted a career in it?
Well, my dad is like super into music. Like I feel like I came out of the womb like knowing all the lyrics to all the Beatles songs, and so my dad always listened to lots of different, like the Stones and Bob Dylan and the Beatles and the band and stuff like that.
Very quickly, have you read that bombshell that Paul McCartney dropped earlier this week?
I feel like I've seen some interviews lately where he's talking about how he wonders how John Lennon, if he would still like his music, and some other stuff about like who really wrote which song and stuff like that. But
that's vastly different than the stories I've been reading.
Oh, okay, so what's the story that you've been reading?
Basically, it's about how him and John Lennon, I think, is either like right before the Beatles got big or like right before the band itself started. Talk about how they occasionally like to masturbate together.
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Along with their lads. Sir Paul McCartney went into extensive detail of how this would go on.
Was this on like the Howard Stern show or something? Or?
No, it's straight up was all over Facebook.
No, I can't say that I heard that.
Okay, I'm just gonna show it to you quickly. Let's see.
They say never meet your heroes, folks. Never read stories about your heroes masturbating together. It takes all the magic out of it.
Well, you see, I've always been. Here we go. From the Independent.
Oh.
The most trustworthy of news sources. Here's the headline. Load. Paul McCartney opens up about masturbation sessions with John Lennon.
Technology.
God damn it. Okay, I reviewed the settings. Okay. Paul McCartney opens up about masturbation sessions with John Lennon and using prostitutes in the Beatles days.
Somehow, I guess that really doesn't surprise me. You know, the creative types were weird in general. So,
Totally.
The guys that masturbate together write great songs together.
Oh yeah, they're just musical geniuses.
Mm-hmm. I actually was watching I've watched a couple Beatles documentaries over the last couple weeks just because I have Hulu and I have to like justify a reason to pay $14 a month to not watch Rick and Morty every night. But I guess as far as like the output between the two of them, they wrote more hit songs than like all the Bachs and the Mozarts and people who had huge careers. Maybe it's not, a great comparison because, they're writing symphonies. But as far as, like, writing pop songs, like, their output was incredible compared to just about anybody else in the history of music.
Well, what's the other iconic duo? What was it? The Rolling Stones. Richards and
Jagger?
Yep, Richards and Jagger. I've often heard them put together for songwriting duos.
There's a lot of people that say that the Stones stole a lot of just really good blues stuff, like your Robert Johnsons.
Oh yeah, they totally did. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm not a big Beatles fan. I was when I was a little kid because I was first getting into music. Mm-hmm. Just go out, buy cassettes at not FYE, but it was like what was called beforehand.
Camelot.
Yes.
I miss that place. I missed the place that replaced that place. They had a store called War Games North that sold like magic cards and dice
I went in there.
And games. I guess they had a problem with theft because that place was kind of huge and there's just so much stuff in it that it was easy to pocket stuff and walk away.
I missed Alpena Mall the way it was when I was growing up.
I guess I've heard from people that all the machines from 2-Bit Arcade exist in a storage unit somewhere. They took 3 or 4 of the working ones out and they are down at the JCPenney end in a little alcove clove.
Yep, and it used to be like a big room in itself, but it keeps on getting smaller,
I bet.
smaller, less
Just
of them.
like anything in the Alpena Mall, it just keeps getting worse.
God.
Alpena Mall, don't like ban me or something. Maybe I want to like fast walk someday when I'm old. I still hope you're there. Move my arms.
Shit, if you really want to make a big business in there, start up a pet shop.
That's one thing that the area doesn't really have is a good pet store.
I'm kind of kidding. There used to be one there.
Did there?
But it smelled.
Oh, they always do. They always.
I know,
do.
that was the problem because the smell came out into the rest of the mall. And it was across from, well, it used to be a cafe. Now it's just was it Cabin Creek Coffee?
Oh, yeah, their little satellite place.
Yeah, but beforehand, the stink would come out and just go directly to the people that are at the cafe.
That's great planning.
Everyone hated it, so it's out of there now.
Ugh. Well, back to musical origin story.
Yeah, musical origins.
So I didn't really appreciate them trying to give me a trombone because if you're not familiar with who I am as a human, I'm tiny. I'm like the tiniest human. I'm like 5'4". My arms are short. Like so, to give me a trombone is like a musical death sentence. Like it's just not going to work out for me in the long run.
So, what instruments do you perform with?
So I play bass. Kind of that's like my worst. I play mainly rhythm guitar and I play drums and I also sing. And I can pick out lines on a keyboard a little bit, but I can play accessory, percussion instruments, tambourine. I like to say that I play a mean tambourine, but
Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man.
there's a really good video on YouTube by a band from Ann Arbor called Wolfpack where they go into like sweet tambourine licks from the past, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but I super appreciated it as a musician because sometimes tambourine can make a track. It sounds silly, but
Triangle?
oh yeah. Actually, I've never got to like be the guy that just hits the triangle once and then mutes it real quick. I've always had that dream. Dream big, follow your dreams.
All right. Actually, before we go further, how old are you?
I am 36. I graduated from Alpena High School in the year 2000, in the height of the Y2K paranoia.
Okay, good. This actually kind of gives a timeline and something I am interested in talking with you about, along with Adam and Rob, whenever I get them, and is basically the Alpena music scene back when you were a teenager.
I can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, I would like to talk about that because I graduated in 2006, and I guess I could go into it, but the scene that I grew up with, I honestly didn't like that much.
Was it like the early 2000s scene where there was the punk bands still, some hardcore bands?
Well, two things about it is that, one, a lot of the people that were involved in it, even in bands, were a lot of people that I didn't like. Mainly because they bullied me as I was growing up in school and like in hockey and shit, which was really funny because the jocks grew up to be the punks.
That is weird because like punk became popular for a while there, thanks to Blink-182 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like I feel like it drew in some people that maybe you'd call them posers, I guess, people that weren't.
I
really
guess you'd
into
call them that, but and two, a lot of it was like, I guess now I would describe it more metalcore than punk. Which I'm honestly not that into that much.
Would you describe it as like butt rock?
No,
Not into that territory.
Well, along with some of the people that I knew there, like really aggressive metalcore. Some of it that could draw in some pretty hateful elements, perhaps.
Yeah, a little bit of white supremacism, maybe, or
I honestly don't remember seeing any of that at these shows, but I kind of got like a sense of that kind of mentality and maybe some of the people around.
Like under the surface a little bit?
Yeah, like you would literally have frontmen that were like super jacked and bald, just going, oh.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of white supremacism there.
Yeah, so that's personally why I didn't like it, but this is just my view, so I'm sure there's some people my age that would have a very different experience.
Yeah. Well, for me, like I picked up guitar when I was about 12 because my stepdad had a bunch of guitars, and so for like the next I'd say 3 or 4 years I played Smoke on the Water repeatedly until like I built up enough finger strength to actually play chords. And he had a bunch of songbooks like Bob Dylan and the Beatles, so I'd try to pick out songs and learn chords. And the person that really helped me a lot was Ian McConnell from the Blood Money Men. He was like one of the first musicians that I got with and played with quite a bit. My first actual band that I was in was called Lesbianage, which actually I have funny stories about that. We were a terrible punk band, weren't very good at our instruments, and that was with...
Was the name intentional, or did you just think it was cool and like not realize what it actually meant?
No, it was a word that was kind of invented by my sisters. I have an older and a younger sister, and it was a combination of the words lesbian and espionage. And so we just thought it was a really neat word, and it'd be cool for a band name. So we went with that. By that point, Ian wasn't really into what we were doing with music, so it was just myself and Mike Gakey on drums and Chris Williams on bass. And like I said, we were really terrible. Somehow the school got wind of that, we were going to play some school-related show. I think a guy had made a flyer for us, and his mom was kind of religious. And so I think we had spread the flyers all around school, so I'm getting off the bus from Oxbow, which during the day at Alpena High School, they bussed people over to this like alternative school just because they didn't have enough classrooms. So on my way back, I get pulled off the bus, and I'm thinking that somebody has like narked me out for having cigarettes or something. So I'm surreptitiously like trying to put my cigarettes like in my pants, so I don't get busted. And they sit me down in the office and they slap the flyer down, and then I'm like, oh, they want to talk about this. They're like, would you say that your band is for or against homosexuality? And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Because it really doesn't agree with the Christian moral values of our high school. And at that point, like, high school was a permanent fight the power type situation for me, because I thought that was total bullshit. So they didn't want to let us play the show, and finally they let us play the show. And we played 17 songs in 22 minutes. A lot of them were like...
Now, 17 songs?
Yeah, that's the type of band we were. We played a lot of like Queers covers. Like, we'd have a ride doing heroin.
That's perfect.
And so we got done with our 17-song, 22-minute set, and the people from the school were like, that's it? And it's like, really? You didn't want to let us play in the first place, and you're worried...
Do you not know anything about like classic punk rock?
Well, I don't think they were Queers fans, and so...
Have you heard the Ramones?
You'd think they'd be happy for us to get off stage, but really they were just disappointed that we couldn't fill up more time. So that was like my first foray into... I think that was a Gear show, which Gear was a group at the high school called... It was an acronym that stood for Get Excited and Rally, Woo, 90s!
Jeez.
And that was at the Merchants Building, so they would set up an indoor skate park inside this concrete building with no windows.
Merchants Building, as in at the
Alpena
County Fairgrounds.
So they'd have...
Another Alpena landmark, folks.
They'd have people skateboarding inside, and bands would be playing in the corner.
Yeah, I do remember that, actually. And it was before high school. It was actually when skateboarding got really big here in Alpena, which, of course, meant I got into it, and... I got called poser a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got called poser because I've worn a wallet chain since I was like 14, and I still am wearing the exact same wallet chain today. Let me slap it against the table a little bit. Mostly just because I'm such a tiny human, and most pants are huge on me, so my wallet tends to fall out a lot. So I lost one wallet, and that was it. I'm chaining it.
Yeah. I used to have a chain one, but it was official Stone Cold Steve Austin one, because of course we were in the wrestling and we grew up during the Attitude Era. Austin 316.
I was just having a conversation with another musician yesterday. He was getting, his name's Abe Brown, and he was responsible for the Oscoda scene, which I'll talk about later. Yeah. But he was reminiscing about the Attitude Era of wrestling. And
dude.
He knew this guy named like Douchebag Dan or something. It's like, he wasn't excited to hang out with the dude, but he had like happy memories about like watching wrestling. Yeah. I got into wrestling for a little bit, I think, when I was in junior high, but I watched like the WCW with like the Wolfpack and all that nonsense.
That's how we started too, my brother and I. WCW, had the NWO. We were legitimately sad when Hulk Hogan turned bad and joined the NWO.
It's like D&D for jocks, I feel like, that in fantasy football.
Yeah, then we got more into WWF.
That was my phone.
Okay. We got more into WWF. Actually, first it was through videos of like, King of the Ring, WrestleMania.
Yeah.
We would rent those out at that video store that used to be next to the Alpena Mall. System 1 Video.
Oh, I remember. Yeah.
The sign's still up there, I think. System 1 Video.
My favorite was Curvan South.
Yep.
I used to rent a lot of Nintendo and Super Nintendo games from there with my friend Andy.
Yep. And then finally we got into the Attitude Era watching WWF on TV. And somehow my mom still let us watch it, even though she wouldn't let us watch like Beavis and Butthead.
That's weird, because
But
it was straight
like-
violence.
Yeah, let's see. You got one group that tells people to suck it. You got the Undertaker, who's a literal cult leader, making people drink blood and hang them on crosses. You got
Just wholesome family fun, you know?
You got Val Venus, who's like literally a porn star. yeah. Let's have our preteen and teenage sons watch this.
Nothing wrong with that, you know? It teaches them, skills like banding together and cooperation and elbow drops.
I know it worked well for me. I mean, here I am doing this podcast now.
It gives you good, happy memories.
Yeah. Okay, so you gave a few instances of shows you did, bands you're in, bands you know. How would you describe the atmosphere of the Alpena music scene around this time when you first started taking part in it?
Well, when I first started taking part of it, some of the bands that were big were like Mild 7, who is now known as Moto, and they are still a band, and they're in Grand Rapids. They recently, end of July, played a show in the alley by the Fresh Palette. It was like a high school reunion. There were 200 people from like around my graduating class. You couldn't throw a rock without seeing somebody I went to school with or saw at other shows. That was incredible. That really made me feel good inside about the old days. The people that I looked up to were like Joe St. Charles, who had a one-man band called Black Shroud.
Wait, isn't he the guy who sets up the Alpena Rock City?
Yes, he wrote a book called Alpena Rock City, and he has a Bandcamp page that has just about every old, Alpena band from back in the day. Just like ones like Dig Dug. I really like Dig Dug because like Chris Lawrence and I'm trying to remember. I think Joel Petrikis, who now makes movies. Like Alpena has some cool people that have come out of it, and Evan Q. Dibble, I think, was the other guy. Like, they were silly and funny, and they weren't the most talented, but they also weren't the least talented, and they were always having fun. And they made it seem like it was possible for somebody with a limited amount of talent to get up there on stage and play and have people, enjoy it. Like, whenever my first band was playing, which we were terrible, they were front row, and they were paying attention, and that always made me feel good. To me, it felt like everybody was on the same team. There was always, things like, oh, who's going to play first and who's going to play last, and, little petty conflicts. But it all felt like we were all going in the same direction, trying to do the same thing, which was have fun and have shows for people to be at. And a lot of times it was to raise money for something, like raise money for the skate park, or we had a 9/11 benefit show at the college, to raise money for victims of 9/11.
What were some of the venues around here?
In the early days, they did a lot of stuff out in like Wilson Hall, and they'd do the VFW Hall in town. We did a couple shows at the big park at the band shell. Those are some of my favorite ones, were the ones at the band shell, because you could hear the bands all over the entire town. Like, you could go all the way down to Big Boy, like 2 miles away, and hear just punk rock. It always just made me smile, like being able to hear bands in town. Trying to think of some of the other ones. There was a festival called Scottstock, which was out in the middle of nowhere in somebody's barn. There were quite a few at the Ossineek Hall until we got a little bit too crazy. I think there was a hardcore show where ceiling tiles got pulled down and somebody pulled a sink off the wall, or maybe broke the toilet.
That is punk right there.
My favorite
vandalizing.
There was an Ossineek show where a band called Kid Brother Collective, who they're on Bandcamp, and they were an amazing like alternative style band. Like, they were getting crazy, jumping off their amps, and I think it was the bass player's amp fell over in slow motion, and I was like right in front of it, and I just watched like, oh no, timber just crash on the floor.
Yeah, that's actually, I don't remember how exactly you and I met, but I think it was through MySpace. And
really?
Yeah, I do remember seeing a lot of pics of you at shows, like, and
always tagged pics.
Yeah, especially since it was MySpace, you had a lot of funny captions there. Like, there's one where it shows you moshing. You're like this. I think you wrote like "Jew Smash" on there.
Yep. That was actually at a place called PS 150 in Tawas, And the history of Northeast Michigan's music scene, there were like sort of eras, and it moved around a little bit. So like when things got too violent and stuff got destroyed too much, like there were civic center shows, but they always wanted insurance and security, and like it was a lot of money to rent the hall in particular. So things kind of moved south for a while, and they were doing them. My friend who I mentioned earlier, Abe Brown, we had a lot of shows at the Legion Hall in Oscoda.
Oh.
And
that's another thing. You mentioned that there's Alpena scene, Tawas scene, Oscoda scene.
and they crossed over just a little bit.
Okay, were there like any like really noticeable differences besides just general location?
Just different bands, and sometimes bands from up in Alpena. Like I was in a band with Joel Choate, whose dad owns the guitar store, and another guy named John Wapplehorse. And
Wapplehorse?
Yeah, he is an amazing piano player. Like he was classically trained, knew
that is
rings
an
and
amazing
stuff.
last name too.
He's got one of those names. It's just great. We were in a band that was like I played drums, John played keyboards, and Joel rapped. So like the keyboard player would play like Toccata in Fugue, and I would play rap beats, and Joel would freestyle over it, or John would play like Mario music, and like I would drum, and Joel would rap over it.
Nice.
That was one of the bands that I was in that had transferred over and played a show down in Oscoda. But there was an indoor skate park in Tawas City. That's the picture that you saw where I was moshing. That's where like the Hubies played a lot, and like some of the other bands that were from Alpena went and played shows, because there wasn't really a music scene as much in Alpena anymore, and that was probably 2004, 2005, 2006, and that was towards the end of it. I feel like it started really dying about 2008, 2009. With the era of cell phones and laptops and always on internet, there's just not as much incentive to like spend a lot of time practicing and hanging out together. And
around that time, 2007, 2008, I moved back to Alpena from spending a school year in Traverse City, and I was working for the Alpena Community College paper then, because I was formerly a journalist major, and I tried to do a story on the Alpena music scene, and I tried talking about to 3 people, only got into one. One was like this metalhead dude who hated one of the other guys that I was going to talk to.
Oh no!
Figure.
Oh no!
And he's a tattoo artist down at what was that one place that was over here?
Concert Connection?
Yeah, Concert Connections. He was like tattoo artist there. Very intimidating, very racist metalhead. So I was like, I don't think I could quote the majority of your stuff because you're dropping a lot of N-bombs right now for no reason.
Oh god, N-bombs?
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
He hated hip-hop, let's put it that way. And the other band I tried to talk to was Crown 91, but they never responded to my messages, so I don't know what's up with that. And the other guy, I totally forget his name, but he was like but I guess he like worked for like a water company around here or something. Yeah, I forget his name, but he then sent me back an email stating about how like the media in Alpena and like the leaders of Alpena have messed with him so much that he like sent me this huge list of questions to like determine whether I was in the in when it came to like punk, emo, and indie.
You had to like pass like a loyalty test to be able to write about it?
Yeah, like how much of the history do you know? What are some of your favorite emo bands? And
Lord.
I was like, oh god. You know, the minute I put Dashboard Confessional, he's just gonna freak his shit and block me.
Oh,
so
no.
I just never responded to it, and the story never happened.
Oh, that sucks. At Adam's house just the other day, there was an article that is very yellowed now because it was probably pretty old. It might have been from the Alpena newspaper, and it was like talking about the Hubies. I think I worked for the college newspaper for like a semester because I took Intro to Journalism, and I think I did an article about the Alpena music scene, but I don't remember a whole lot of it. Did a lot of drugs back then, so I don't really remember so good.
Only the best drugs you can find in Alpena.
Oh
right?
yeah. Well, don't even get me started on drugs.
Yeah.
In Alpena because it's terrible.
Oh yeah, we're totally methed out up here.
Yeah. And before I even knew what methamphetamines was or were or are, I was hanging out with this girl that I met at college, and she just out of the blue showed up at my house on the north side one day, and like her pupils were like as big as her eyeballs were, and she must have been on some meth or something, and she like wanted to do all this stuff and was super excited, and then right away I'm like, this is a bad time. Like you need to like sit down, drink some water, like.
Dude, I used to have Mobile Patrol on my phone, that app where you can like look up people from different zip codes and see like who's currently in the county jails and that.
So
I would look up the ones in Alpena because even in Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids where I lived, even though I lived there a number of years, I'm not as familiar with the people there as I am here. I would look up and like every time before the app went to shit, it's back now, but I haven't downloaded it. I would always see at least one person that I knew in there, and holy shit, were they methed out from the looks of it.
I used to see a bumper sticker a lot. It was like, Alpena vacation, leave on probation.
Yeah, see that one. I mean, there was even like a girl I asked out once that was on there. I'm like, oh, I dodged that bullet.
Yeah,
Shit.
yeah. But as far as like the music scene up here, like, is and like the feeling of it, like, I really do think it was kind of like a band of brothers type situation, or a band of people, even though it was predominantly male. You found like the drummer for Go Banana, who's Becky Lawrence. I think she is married to a guy who's in Mustard Plug. And
Oh, really?
They live in Grand Rapids.
Yep, I actually saw them again last week. They're hometown heroes.
Yep. And trying to think. There were always lots of women at shows and stuff like that.
Well, what you're kind of saying is just kind of been with indie and punk and whatnot forever, you know, even the beginning. So it's not like really shocking content here.
But Alpena has I think her name is Steph Chura. She's one of the ones that's gotten pretty popular.
Oh, dude, I've been wanting to see her for a while now. I missed out because she was here with Lipstick Jody from Grand Rapids. They were awesome. But I was in Chicago at the time, so...
That'd probably be the only complaint about, you know, the Alpena music scene, was that it was a mostly boys club, but it's just what happens when there's a lot of boys around that want to play punk rock.
Yeah. Well, actually, I do remember one band from high school, and they were actually a ska band, and this was before, like, the big metalcore, hardcore stuff came in. You ever remember a band called Omega Red?
Omega Red? Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
You do? Because first it took me a couple of years to realize the X-Men reference, for one.
See, I wouldn't, as much as I do enjoy comics and Marvel and all that stuff, I wouldn't have gotten... Is that like a...
Omega Red's a Wolverine villain, like he's a Russian mutant.
Ah, yeah, I remember him from the cartoon.
He has like the tentacles coming out of his hands.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the first time I remember trying to skank too, and I didn't even know what ska or skanking was. I just saw people doing it, and I tried to do it, and I just awkwardly did it.
There was an amazing ska band from probably the late 90s from Alpena, and it was Chris Lawrence from Dig Dug, and then like Jake Riebel, and I think Matt Ramey, and Scott Hickok, who's the drummer for Mild 7 and Moto, was the drummer for that, and they were a full-on ska. I think Jim Gunderson was in it too, and they had a full horn section and everything, and they were a lot like Real Big Fish, who's, you know, one of my favorite ska bands.
Oh, same here. The Real Big Fish was like the first real band that I ever realized what the term ska meant. Mm-hmm. That and the Specials are like really the only two that I actually still listen to. I'm honestly not that big of a fan of ska, actually, but I still enjoy it. I still like seeing Mustard Plug on occasion.
I really liked Real Big Fish and Less Than Jake when I was young. Those are like two of my favorite bands.
I did go through a ska phase, which was basically Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake, Voodoo Glow Skulls. Yep. Goldfinger.
Goldfinger.
Remember that Tony Hawk song?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It'll never get old. I could hear that song a million times.
Getting older Superman. All the time. Getting younger in my mind.
There was quite an interesting... Alpena is weird because it has really made a lot of different styles of music. There was metal, there was hardcore, there was alternative, there was punk, there was ska, like full-on ska.
Yeah, one thing that I have noticed that was interesting in the Alpena Rock City band camp is that I'm actually surprised by how much experimental music is on there. Especially like Black Shroud that you mentioned.
Black Shroud, one of my favorite shows ever was at the old Shooting Star Cafe, which is now John Boy's. And Joe St. Charles, who's the guy that wrote the Alpena Rock City book, he would play over tape loops, and it was just him playing the drums and tape loops. And so he pressed play on the tape recorder, and the tape, the samples are playing, and he's drumming along, and then everything stopped. He flipped his drumstick in the air, caught it at the exact same moment the tape loop came back in, and he was perfectly in time. That blew my 18-year-old mind to shreds. That just impressed the hell out of me.
Yeah, when I've heard that and a lot of the other experimental stuff on there, I was like, wow, this is like some Count Zoo level shit. Because like I said, when I grew up here in Alpena, the music scene that I got into, I really did not like. But then when I moved to Kalamazoo in 2009, it was like, wow, a lot of underground noise, a lot of experimental music, a lot of stuff that just mixes everything from country to blues into it. So when I first heard of Alpena Rock City, I was thinking just metalcore shit that I heard back in the day.
No.
And I listened to it, and I was like, whoa, my friend Sid Redling would like this. Sid Redling of Boron Nuzzle, check them out, folks. He's coming back, I think, in October. Anyway.
But some of my favorite bands from that era are like Trauma Coil, who was like an experimental alternative band, very prog rocky, lots of odd time signatures, stuff I'm into. Mild 7 could really jam out. And speaking of Shooting Star Cafe, there used to be shows in there where you'd have 75 people crammed into there to the point where you couldn't move. People are sitting on each other's laps. The cops are ready to shut the whole thing down because you're way over the fire code, for being able to exit the building. But one time...
Was that 24 hours too back then?
It was 24 hours back then, and when we threw shows in there, it was incredible. There was one where Joe St. Charles, I helped him out. I went out to his place out in the boondocks, and we had strung a bunch of cymbals across the front of the coffee shop, and my job was to just go crazy and hit the cymbals. And I don't think he had mallets, so he had taped a bunch of toilet paper to the end of drumsticks, and at the very end of it, there was just toilet paper everywhere, all over the coffee shop, from me hitting the cymbals and it all exploding.
Wait, so you've been to John Boy's more recently?
Not for several years now.
No, not for several years, but, do you remember the setup at all?
From back in the day, it was tables and booths, and there was the bar.
Yep, that's still it. So, where did the bands perform in there? I'm trying to figure out in this generally small...
They would cram everything right by the front window. So if you're in the coffee shop looking out at the street, it would be the left-hand side window.
Oh,
they would cram, people would set their amps on the table in that corner booth. You crammed as much stuff as you could, and then the people would just be wherever the people would be. If you had to go to the bathroom, good luck trying to get through the sea of bodies.
Nice.
And of course, there were shows that, weren't packed to the gills like sardines, but there were some shows where it was just an incredible amount of people in a tiny little space, all sweating their balls off, way too loud. You'd leave the place, half deaf, but that's Alpena music scene. That's what I love about it. Just leaving tired and beat up and deaf every time.
And of course, I kind of noticed here the places you mentioned, none of them were bars, right?
No, and now Alpena's music scene, which is kind of back, but it's mostly in the bars. There's some great bands around here, but they play bars. Just last night, I feel like I saw, it might have been Kevin Sitek or Jesse Tomchek said that there were some high school kids, and it looked like the inside of Chiefs to me, and they were playing original music in Alpena in a bar, so not like the old shows, but it gave him a lot of pride, and he was happy about it that was happening, and I'm the same way. If you're up on the stage and you're playing it, you don't even have to be playing original music. If you have the balls to get up there and play music, thumbs up, more power to you, because it takes a certain level of bravery to put your self on the line. Because my first bands, they threw quarters at us. I remember Ian had a gouge out of his guitar where somebody threw a quarter at him. Just because if you're terrible, people are going to hate on you. But there's a floor, and it's hard to get underneath that floor of terribleness. If you're up there and you're doing your thing, I like it. I might not enjoy it, but I like that you're up there.
All right. Okay, and this is all of us have folks you don't know, Alpena is on the northeast side of northern Michigan. The northeast side of northern Michigan. Yeah, have you ever, during that time when we were active as a teenager, did you travel outside of northeast Michigan, like say, or to the northwest side with Traverse City or downstate at all?
I think when I was playing with John, we had a band called Patterns in Paris that then became Mason Proper. We played in Gaylord once at a little cafe. We played in Charlevoix once outside under a pavilion, and that was a beautiful show because Charlevoix is just gorgeous. I mean, the west side of the state is where all the money and the tourists are, and so we played a show over there at a little pavilion in Charlevoix, and it was really. We played with another band that I loved, who was from Traverse City, called Tanuki Suit. I love the Mario reference. I still listen to Tanuki Suit to this day. They are like a prog rock, not really noise rock, because they're just all sorts of talented. And back then they were like 16, and they were playing stuff that blew my mind, and I was like probably in my early 20s. I had played in Grand Rapids with Patterns in Paris. I think. Trying to think of other places we played, but the only three that come to mind are like Gaylord and Charlevoix and Grand Rapids for sure.
Yeah, I remember.
Oh, and the UP. I went up to the UP once and played a show with John and a weird side project band called the Mitten State.
Do you remember where in Grand Rapids you played?
It was at the DAC, the Division Avenue Arts Cooperative.
Oh yes, I do remember there. I think they tried to resurrect a couple of years ago, but
I think it moved around a little bit too. It wasn't always the original DAC or the DAC that we played at was like the back of it to get your stuff was like up 3 flights of stairs, but it was at street level on the other side. But there was like no parking. It was kind of a giant pain in the butt because it was on Division Avenue.
Well, yeah, DAC I remember was on Division. That's one I went to. Then they got shut out due to gentrification downtown.
Yep, back like when we played there, it was probably 2004 or 2005, and it was just on the edge of like a sketchy neighborhood. Like you weren't sure.
The Division is still pretty sketchy,
but it's becoming more gentrified now.
Oh yeah, and since Art Prize is right around the corner, a lot of shit's gonna go down with the homeless people that live in that area, as in the city and the police boot them out there. Big controversies, obviously.
Yeah, I lived in Grand Rapids for a hot second with Joel Choate on Wealthy Street, right like a block and a half from Yesterdogs.
Oh, what a coincidence, because that's where I live, right on Wealthy Street. I've been there for 5 years now.
I feel like parts of Grand Rapids could be known as Little Alpena, because there's so many people from Alpena that live down there, like your Rob Bruce's and all the guys from Moto. Yeah,
actually, that's a good segue there. We mentioned them here, but you are friends with Rob Bruce and Adam Newman of Murder Party, West Side Rebellion. Was it the Hubbies? The Hubbies. I always pronounce it the Hubbies.
No, and if you want to know what a Hubie is,
yes,
I think it's kind of like a half erect penis. It's like not an erection, but not an all the way soft penis. I'm pretty sure that's what it means. Nice. Feel free to correct me, Adam or Rob, if I'm wrong there.
If they ever get on here.
Oh, and also another guy that was in the Hubies was Sean Shafto, who I'm pretty sure still lives in Alpena right now too.
Wait, is he related to Jeff Shafto?
Yes, who plays for what, Day Jobs, I think it is?
Day Jobs, previously Natural Disasters.
Yep, I absolutely love the band Natural Disasters. I used to play them I had a radio show called the Local Music Radio Hour for a while where I played tons of Alpena music on it. And anything that, even if you didn't live in Alpena anymore, but if you had Alpena roots, I would definitely play it. Or if you were just from Michigan, I'd play it too.
No, a funny story, when I was living in Kalamazoo, I also worked for the Western Michigan University newspaper, Western Herald, and I mostly worked in the arts and entertainment section, and by choice I did a lot of like underground DIY scene stuff, because it was more interesting than a lot of the junk that we would get for stories. So I wrote one on Bike Tough, Returning to Fat Guy House, where Jeff Shafto lives, and when I wrote to Jeff to talk about it, he's like, yeah, I remember you from Alpena. I think we played baseball together. I was like, oh shit, I don't remember you at all. But then we got to know each other again. It was all good.
There's so many good musicians from the town of Alpena. Like, I couldn't even list them all if I tried.
Well, let's talk about these two great musicians, Rob and Adam. How did you guys meet?
I used to work, well, aside from just seeing him at shows, I think the first time I saw Adam, he was playing in a band called Noosid. He was drumming, and that was at a show right across the street from the Austin Hall in someone's garage. I think it was a guy by the last name of Tolan. It might have been Rob Tolan or something like that. I apologize if I got that wrong. But they had a show in his garage. I think that was after like the Austin shows fell through from too much stuff getting destroyed. But so I think that's the first time I saw Adam. And then Adam's dad had a house behind Kiffmiller's on the south side of town, kind of over by where Dunkin' Donuts was. And I worked third shift at Dunkin' Donuts. And Rob and Adam, I think they were in a band at that point called Robbery in Progress. They would come over late night and get donuts, and I'd give them like the free stale donuts or like even free good donuts. Because like they'd be jamming, because there weren't a lot of people that lived around on that south side of town, so they could be pretty much as loud as they wanted. So Rob and Sean and Adam would come over and get munchies late at night, and that's where I really, aside from just knowing Rob from school and from all the other bands, that's like when I started, talking to him and hanging out with him a lot more. I think I recorded a Hubie's EP called, I forget the name of it now.
I checked out their discography on Bandcamp. Wasn't there one where like you record them at the band show?
I recorded them at the house that was over by Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know if I ever recorded a band shell show though. It's possible that I did, but I recorded a lot of stuff. I recorded a band from Oscoda called Death or Glory. That was like my first. I bought like a bunch of musical
nice Clash
equipment
reference.
And they were a band that was a lot like the Clash, and they eventually moved down to Hamtramck, and I think Jordan Wright, who was the lead singer in that band. See, these are Oscoda kids. He was just up for that show that happened at the Fresh Palette where Moto played. That was like a high school reunion. So he has like a solo thing where he just sings and plays guitar. So many connections between so many people.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as Rob and Adam, like I knew them from school and from shows and a lot from Dunkin' Donuts, just late night donuts and jamming and stuff.
Yeah, very quickly, you say you work at the Fresh Palette now, right?
Yes, I just started this last Monday.
Which I assure you totally will not get fired for any of the content on this podcast. No, but have you had a hand in booking any of the shows there?
No, and
Really?
I just started there a week ago, and I'm just a lowly day cook.
That explains it.
But one of the things that I talked about with the manager, whose name is Josh, who I went to school with, was that even though I'm not a very experienced cook, I know a lot about music, and so I could be maybe a help when they do throw shows.
Oh yeah,
I could help do sound and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's the thing, because I follow them on Facebook, and of course I check out their events, and I'm noticing all the bands they get in there, from Robin Adams bands to, how you pronounce her name?
Steph Chura?
Yeah, Steph Chura. God.
They had Larry McRae play like a couple months ago, and
that
like I saw some videos on Facebook, and man, that looked incredible.
Yeah.
They were expecting like 1,000 people to show up. Huh.
Yeah,
Alpena's like, it's got stuff going on.
Yeah, Lipstick Jody, and the one I saw with my folks who were very enthused about it, air quotes enthused, was the Legal Immigrants from Grand Rapids.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm looking at all this, I'm like, damn, they are Fresh Palace is killing it right now.
Well, Josh, the manager, he used to play in bands back in the day too, so he experienced all the same shenanigans that I experienced growing up.
Yeah, it's a big difference from a lot of the bands I have noticed past few years around here, which are basically just your
bands.
Cover bar bands. Occasionally you'll get someone cool like Way Out Wayne who does the same thing but has his own vibe about it. Mm-hmm. Donnie Hartman occasionally plays in town when he's not fishing or whatever.
But it's like I said earlier, it's hard to hate on anybody that will get up on stage and and play, because you open yourself up to criticism very easily, especially if you're. It's hard to be in a bar band because you got to impress the drunk, the 39-year-old woman who just wants to hear "Pour Some Sugar on Me," just wants to hear some Bon Jovi.
Or like the 21-year-old me who hates being Alpena and can't wait to move downstate, try and get some cultural infusion on the weekend, then hearing some kind of wonderful.
Yeah.
It's like,
Or, here's Wonderwall, brother, or play Wagon Wheel. That's the price that you pay when you get up on stage, is that bad things can happen and people can judge you.
it's more of a generational thing too.
I feel like there will always be that, though. There will always be the need for people to be a human jukebox to get up there and impress drunk people, or at least get them dancing. My own philosophy, I like to learn pop songs. I like to learn Katy Perry and Lady Gaga stuff, just so I can come out of left field and play a Britney Spears song in the style of punk rock, and just people are like, hey, I like that, and I don't know why, or I'm surprised by that. I might not enjoy that artist, but like...
So does that mean this new band that you're thinking of forming, does that mean, like, since you're all up on the cultural trends, you gonna do like a punk rock mumble rap cover?
I don't know if I can sink that far. I don't know if I could.
Drinking perp, making songs.
We actually, myself and my girlfriend, who are the two founding members of, I would like to call this band Bad Beans.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into this new band, Bad Beans.
So there is I wouldn't even call him a mumble rapper, because he doesn't mumble. He's got face tattoos. He's called Stitches. I don't know if you've ever heard Stitches.
Gosh, out of Florida? Yes, I know that Stitches.
So she was working on a breathy acoustic cover of I'm gonna put cocaine in your ass. I'm gonna put my dick in your ass. Like,
nice.
and it's terrible. She does a great cover of Bitches Ain't Shit. Like, bitches ain't shit but hoes and tricks.
Like actually does it like the same intensity as...
The same intensity, but just with acoustic guitars.
Okay, not like the Ben Folds cover.
Kind of quasi Ben Folds, I would say.
Which, I've seen Ben Folds twice, and unfortunately he never did the cover.
See, I like ironic stuff like that. I like pulling Katy Perry out of my ass just to shock people. Because for me, it's not shocking them with like, fuck, shit. It's more like, I'm going to play this super wholesome pop song out of left field and be weird about it.
Yeah, you just got to be yourself. It really sucks when people know that you're being a try-hard.
Mm-hmm. But for me, I sing like a girl, so I might as well like sing some girl songs every once in a while. Use that part of my body.
All right. Okay, so what is the genre of Bad Beans?
Bad Beans, I feel like I had to make up my own genre, but going on Bandcamp and seeing all the weird things that are available, I've found a genre called folktronica. Which is
folktronica. You mix
folk and electronic music. And for me, because I want to play everything, but I only have so many arms, like I'm gonna use drum loops and stuff like that. So there's gonna be electronic elements and acoustic guitars.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually a genre I very much like, along with like a lot of lo-fi electronica.
Yep.
Like, you ever heard of Advanced Bass or Casio Tone for the Painfully Alone?
Casio Tone for the Painfully Alone, yes.
Yep, he goes by Advanced Bass now. Semi-different, but that's the kind of stuff I really do like there. You know, a lot of it's more emotional core with lo-fi beats, or even like dance beats itself.
Mm-hmm. Lo-fi bedroom pop. There was a band I came across called I Just Wanted a Bite of Your Cookie. That blows my mind. They might not be for everybody, but it's just, I feel like it's like one gender to be determined person, because I can never tell if it's a woman or a man singing because they sing so high.
Hey, are you questioning the gender here?
They haven't revealed it, so I'm not going to assume their gender, I guess.
Let's just call them
them. So this them person. And a bunch of electronic beats, and they're like, I wouldn't call it lo-fi, it's more like low money, because like good beats and good samples require pretty decent stuff, and I feel like they've just got like an ancient MacBook and they're using the stock sounds, but it works for me. It's like it's almost like they took an electric guitar and they don't have it plugged in, but they're miking it. So it's like this very, very weird sound, and it just gets me right in the feels for some reason.
Nice.
So yeah, check out I Just Wanted a Bite of Your Cookie if you're into sort of lo-fi bedroom electronic pop.
And what about you guys, Bad Beans? Anything out yet?
No, absolutely not. We both work too much lately to even barely practice. But just the other night,
put some out, motherfucker.
I'm working on it. It's been a while since I need to find a stable place so I can actually set up my recording gear and get back into it. Right now, I've just been learning songs. Like the other night, I was working on learning some Radiohead and stuff like that. Just because.
Like Creep.
No, not Creep.
Honestly, that's the only Radiohead song I really know of.
I've been trying to learn like old Radiohead, like High and Dry and like Fake Plastic Trees, stuff like that. Stuff I can use my girly falsetto voice on.
How about some good old Weezer?
There's a couple Weezer songs I do. I know El Scorcho, just because I love that song to death. And that's part of my, like, there are only 2 good Weezer albums, and it's the fucking first 2.
You know what? Let's get into that because...
Let's talk some Weezer.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was you directly. Well, no, it was earlier. I got into Weezer in high school, but how did you get into Weezer?
So my older sister had the Blue Album, and that was probably like 94. And it was incredible, and they were on MTV, and it was just good music. Like back then, we were listening to Nirvana and Pearl Jam, but also like TLC's Waterfalls and not Backstreet Boys, but Boys to Men. I had a soft spot for like that Motown Philly sound or whatever it was.
Me, it was all about 98 Degrees.
98 Degrees.
All day, every day.
We all have our cringe-worthy music from our childhoods.
Actually, I'm kidding. I was a huge nu metal and Eminem fan growing up, so I wanted to kill them all like Eminem claimed he did on the Marshall Mathers LP, even though he does songs with like Ed Sheeran now.
Yeah, it's funny how your career can take sort of meandering paths to like weirdness.
Well, no, it's good that you're growing up and you got out of that, but you can't help but look on the path of some like, well, isn't that ironic?
I don't know. His most recent album, I think he shit all over everyone ever, so it's maybe he hasn't grown up.
Well, I gotta listen to that, but I'm kind of a little bit turned off by the whole, it's a reaction to his critics and people he hates, which is like, dude, I don't give a shit about that.
He's always been a very me against the world type of guy, though. Like, fuck everybody and fuck anybody that wants to fuck with me. And, lots of the F word.
No, there's actually a real emotional interview that he did a while back. Especially with the lighting, they put him like in half dark. He's sitting there in the chair.
Oh, really?
He just straight up says that he doesn't have the same anger that he used to. Which, if you look, if I'm a big Eminem fan, like before Bob Dylan, I got into Bob Dylan in high school, and that was like the guy that I consider my all-time favorite musician, and he's the reason I'm into a lot of the music I am now, even if like he didn't directly make it. Like Bob Dylan isn't making like lo-fi bedroom pop. But
he was making his own lo-fi bedroom pop of the day for a while.
Oh yeah, but before Bob Dylan there was Eminem, who was like my all-time favorite. He still is, like he's like top 5 musicians, but yeah, I grew up with Eminem, you could say. And yeah, if you look at his history, his music and personal, it probably is a good thing that he grew up and is like getting past these demons and these addictions. Because they're fucking horrible. And if you're a true fan, you probably don't want them going through that all their life.
Because they won't last very long. You almost always will succumb to that addiction.
Oh, that too. And it's like, come on, do you really want them going through all that pain just so you can write another funny horrorcore song that you like back in the Slim Shady LP?
It's like method acting for musicians. Like, I'm going to do some heroin so I can write a really good heroin song.
Yeah, it's like, okay, calm down, Lou Reed. You can only get like 3 singles out of this.
But back to Weezer.
Okay, so you got into through the Blue album.
So the Blue album came out, my sister had that, and so then we bought Pinkerton. And the first time we listened to it, we didn't know what the fuck to make of that album, because it was such a 90-degree turn from the Blue album. But it very quickly grew on us. And so...
I do remember now how I got into Weezer. I do know how. This was back in high school when I was like into emo. By emo is mostly Dashboard Confessional and Jimmy Eat World. And I happened to read a book called Everything Hurts. I think that was the title of it. Called about the rise of emo and internet culture. And of course it talked about like the early emo days, like how it came out hardcore and screamo. And it specifically had a chapter on Weezer and Pinkerton, like the influence it had on it.
Very personal lyrics, like just heart on your sleeve, laying yourself bare.
Yep, and that's how I got into Weezer right there. I think I got Blue album first, and then like Pinkerton like a few months later out of town.
If I could start a rock band, like I would steal everything from Pinkerton, like weird ending songs on like sad minor chords and using screeching feedback all the time and like slightly off-kilter song structures and deeply personal lyrics, like almost confessional to a certain extent.
Oh, a lot of it is, and I think one of them was Across the Sea.
Yeah, like, that is my favorite song.
Yeah, he got permission from like the 14-year-old Japanese girl who wrote him a fan letter, which is totally normal, not at all creepy.
Not at all creepy. Oh, poor Rivers Cuomo. Just can't find a lady.
Poor River. No, I think he's married now to a Japanese woman.
Oh, imagine that.
No, but yeah, I like both albums. I would have to go with Pinkerton because I think it's more experimental and the lyrics are better. But basically, if you want the grimy, experimental, underground stuff, Pinkerton's your key. If you want like the smooth, clean rock, the bangers, you could say, the Blue album definitely. Like, there's no Buddy Holly, there's no Sweater Song or Only in Dreams or anything on Pinkerton. You can't blast out. You can blast those on the radio, no problem.
The Good Life from Pinkerton is probably the closest to the Blue album. But even there's parts of the Blue album that still has like that feedbacky, sad weirdness
like
to it.
In the Garage.
Yeah, In the Garage is a good one.
In the Garage.
D&D references and comic stuff. Like, yep, that's definitely played a huge part of what I wanted to be as a musician growing up. That and the band Mild 7, who's now known as Moto.
Yeah.
For some reason, I looked at them and I was like, that is everything that I want to write and play and sound like.
Yep.
And I don't know if I've ever told them that, but if you guys hear about that, like, you guys are my heroes. I don't know if you could tell when I was young, but I pretty much copied everything you did.
See, that's the thing about the Garret Schuelke podcast. We just have these emotional moments between, the dick jokes and the yelling.
Yeah, and figuring out what a semi-hard penis actually means.
Yep. Okay, actually, Weezer and Eminem are a lot alike in some ways. The main thing is that like their first two albums are hailed as masterpieces,
and the rest of them are not so
like, yeah. For you, when did Weezer start going downhill for you?
Anything after Pinkerton, like.
Yeah, actually, that's another thing. There was another picture you had on your MySpace and then Facebook. Is you kind of just sitting there, stand still. Like, there's like this dark bluish light. In the original MySpace, you wrote, he cries whenever he listens to Pinkerton.
Yep, that was me being fake emo.
Yeah,
or actually emo.
Yeah, I quoted that on your Facebook one. Then you just reply back, I cry whenever I think about what they became after Pinkerton.
Yep. There was one album, I think it was Maladroit, that I think Rivers sat down and was like, everybody likes Pinkerton so much, I'm going to try to do that again. And he got kind of close, but they missed Matt Sharp. Matt Sharp, who then went and formed, I think, The Rentals, like the band The Rentals. That's what's missing from Weezer now. You can't ever have old Weezer back unless you had Matt Sharp back in the band, because it was his crazy little falsetto singing in the background and weirdness that really made that band work or click.
The thing with Weezer now, whenever I listen to their stuff, even their newest stuff, is Rivers kind of reminds me of, like we were talking earlier, a tryhard. Like this guy who writes these lyrics where they're not really that deep, but he's trying to connect to like the younger audience, but he just can't do it.
I've read stuff about where he mathematically analyzed like Nirvana songs to figure out like
Green Day
and any pop song to figure out what made it tick and like how to recreate that. And it's like, for me, you let magic happen. You write a riff, and if it works, cool. If it doesn't, just, go write another riff or work on it some more or see if you can get it to click. And maybe it doesn't click for 10 years. Maybe you beat your head against the wall over and over and over again until finally one day where you're half asleep, it comes to you. And that's why I think music and magic are one and the same.
Well, that's probably not a good idea for Rivers, the whole sleep thing that it comes to you. I'll tell you why in a sec. But, I actually am, in one ways I am glad that he's not trying to reenact the sound and success of Blue Album Pinkerton. Kind of like how I don't want Eminem to like try to reenact Slim Shady LP and Marshall Mathers LP. Even if you fail, I still want you to try new shit. Really, I do, because I don't want to hear the same stuff. But it's just the lyrical content. God, I used to think he was a good lyricist. I really did. Like since I'm a writer and all, I really like to pay attention to lyrics, which is why like Bob Dylan's my all-time favorite.
Oh yeah, he's great.
Oh yeah. So like when I would listen to like Rivers, like compare him to other guys, whether it's Dylan or Eminem or Tom Waits, Joni Mitchell, or hell, even guys that could be more of his contemporaries, like Kurt Cobain. Now I'm reading this stuff and it's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And okay, the guys besides some of the lyrics, some of his sounds are just fucking boring.
Yeah.
Like the Green album bored the shit out of me.
It's like I was super excited when they got back together, but then when I heard what came of it, I was pretty disappointed.
Yeah. If you could set, what is there like a favorite Weezer album you have that's not Pinkerton or Blue Album?
Probably Maladroit.
Maladroit?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Dope Nose and Keep Fishing, particularly, which I do think are both good songs.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, the thing is, I could still listen to any Weezer album after those two and not hate it and actually get enjoyment out of it. But if I really wanted to feel feels and to have my brain be stimulated, those first two albums, even though I've heard them a million times, I can always hear new things in Pinkerton because there is so much going on. There's such a crazy interplay between sounds and sonic landscape, if you want to get all crazy with it. Like, it depends on what mood you're in. It's like one of those pictures where you stare at it until the 3D image becomes available for me. I don't know, maybe I'm just weird, but for me, that's what I feel Pinkerton is. Yeah,
well, I always used to say that that when Weezer eventually starts putting out like greatest hits albums, they will literally be the greatest hits because besides from it'll be all the best tracks from Blue Album, Pinkerton, then it'll be like the 1 to maybe 3 best tracks from every album afterwards.
And that's what separates those two albums from every album they made. Every single song on those first two albums is great. There is not a single one where I hit the skip button. Not a single one. Whereas those other ones, I can take or leave some songs on them.
Yep. Like even Green Album, which I hated. Well, what was it like? Island, the Sun, I like that. Mm-hmm. Even though it was kind of boring. Do.
It's a pop song, and he definitely became very proficient at writing pop songs, but there's only so far you can go if you're not breaking new ground in the pop song field.
Yeah, my personal favorite post Blue Album, post Pinkerton is Make Believe.
That's a good one, yeah.
Yeah, I do a few things. One, the real superficial reason is their song Beverly Hills, which is a terrible song out and out. Like when
It's a good pop song though.
Oh God. Well, remember how I said that I think Rivers could be too try-hardy at times? Mm-hmm. This is what I mean by the lyrics, like, where I come from isn't all that great. My automobile is a piece of crap. My fashion sense is a little whack. I'm like, oh, fuck you.
It's like a 16-year-old wrote those lyrics.
I know, that's the thing. But I remember because I was working at I won't say the name of it because I got fired from there. My first real job ever. It's at a local family market here in Alpena. Totally not across from the bowling alley. Yeah, but I remember because, of course, we'd have the Bay on, and we all fucking hate that radio station, even to this day. So all the crappy songs they would play, and this was like my last year of high school, I would always get happy whenever they played Beverly Hills. Because I know it's a crappy Weezer song, but it's good compared to the other shit on here. So that's pretty good.
Can we take a quick break and then talk about radio in a second?
Sure.
Okay, because I really gotta use the restroom. Is that possible on there? Can you
pause
it, or?
Oh yeah, this will actually give me a chance to cut out and put a middle song in there.
Cool. I might be able to provide you some sort of old song from back in the Alpena music scene.
All right, folks, we'll be right back.
I want my chubby right here, right now.
How are you? How have you been since your number, I give you a call. Hold my hand, I still can't ask if I can be your man. I lost my belt, can I pick it up at your place tonight? And I don't want it to end this way, 'cause I know that we'll only end up friends till the end of our night. Yeah. Saw your face, I wasn't changed by her eyes. I wanna meet you tomorrow night. So hold my hand and shed a tear. Come to my house and drink a beer. And I don't want it to end this way, 'cause I know that we'll only end up friends by the end of the night.
Watching Good Morning Vietnam.
Oh yeah, that is going on today. Like their film series.
I guess so. There's like 3 people watching it.
Oh, Alpena, you only get 3 people for your big events. And we're back. Okay, I guess continue quickly with Make Believe, my favorite album. Okay, but aside from Beverly Hills, I really do like kind of the darker tone of the album. Even though that does kind of make some of the songs all kind of sound the same, but take what you can get. And I really do think a lot of the lyrics were deep and even heartfelt, like "Hold Me" and "Damage in Your Heart." It was really great.
That album and the White Album, I think, and Maladroit were the ones that I think the fans' consensus were the ones that had come as close as possible to recreating sort of that Pinkerton magic.
Yep.
Which is funny for a band that Pinkerton was critically not acclaimed. It was a famous kind of flop.
Oh yeah.
Just because it was so different. It's like the epitome of the cult classic.
Yep.
And it's funny that to then break up and come back and then try to recapture the magic of your worst album, according to the critics.
Yeah.
I guess that's what fame is, or that's what success is.
Yep, but Make Believe did have what I think is the worst Weezer song of all time on it. It's a little song called "We Are All on Drugs."
Oh yeah.
Oh my God! Please tell me you agree with that's a terrible song.
Yeah. Yep. I'm really never been a fan of Hash Pipe, even though I love the music for it. But I just for some reason that's one of the ones where if it came on and I had my choice, the skip button's getting hit.
Well, basically with "We Are All on Drugs," a few things. One is an anti-drug song, like purely anti-drug, not like you're writing a song about how shitty your life is on drugs. Those are cool, but doing just a totally anti-drug one, bad. Second, the origin. Remember how you mentioned that, Weezer should just not Weezer, Rivers should just kind of relax and take a nap, then a song come to his head? Not in this instance.
Nope.
Because apparently, I guess the origin is Rivers was living in some apartment in Hollywood or some shit. He was sleeping, and there was a club next door where the neon sign was flashing through his window. He apparently then woke up, saw the sign, then thought, "We are all on drugs." I'm like, oh my God, that's your origin story for this fucking song?
Yeah. That's why it's...
and then, of course, the terrible lyrics "You think you're really cool when you show up late for school when you're on drugs."
When you say it, it's even worse, because it's just there's no veneer of, Rivers Cuomo cool to make it seem not so lame.
You put on your headphones and you get into the zone when you're on drugs.
Well, sound like lyrics that I would write, because I'm famously bad at writing lyrics.
Yeah, I've kind of been getting back into it, along with just poetry in general.
I can write essays. Give me an essay. Give me a topic you want an essay written about. I'm fine, but
what Weezer can do to become good again.
Yeah, to make Weezer great again.
Oh, there we go. But okay, Okay, their latest album is the White Album. Have you listened to it?
I think once. I think Rolling Stone was pimping it as like the coolest Weezer album to come out in a while. So I think
The most I've heard of it was The Needle Drop, aka Anthony Fantano, the best teeth in the game. Actually rated like I think the song Summer Girls, one of the worst singles of 2017.
I can see that.
Yeah. So you think, okay, I guess to close out this part of the conversation, can Weezer ever be great again?
Not without Matt Sharp.
Not without him?
Not without the old bass player. I feel like he was the jelly to Rivers' peanut butter. Or chocolate, or whatever you think the combo is supposed to be.
Okay, and finally, you think they'll just keep doing these meme covers like Toto?
It's working for him. I was literally, right before you got here, I was reading an article about how Weezer is like America's cover band right now because of Toto. And it's funny because at work we listened to this Pandora station, and these songs kept coming on, and they were like this bland rock song, and I just kept thinking, is this Weezer? Is this a Weezer song? Because I can't tell. Someone save me.
That's bad when like the first thing you think of when you hear a shitty, boring song is this one of my favorite bands?
Don't get me started. The funny thing was, after the may or may not have been Weezer song, a song by a guy from Alpena came on the Pandora station. This guy that I used to play with back in the day, John Visger. We were in a band called Patterns in Paris. We were in a bunch of bands together, AV Club and Honesty in the Auto Industry, the Minton State. But he has a solo project called Abso Facto, and he's real big on Spotify. He's got lots of really, really good tracks. And
Wait, what was his name again?
John Visger. He was the lead singer of Mason Proper.
Oh, this is a good segue.
And so I'm washing dishes or doing something, and I heard his voice, because I know his voice, and I heard guitar licks that sound just like the way he plays guitar. And I don't have Shazam on my phone, but I didn't need Shazam to tell me that, yep, that's a new Abso Facto track on the Pandora station. And I remember walking into the prep room, I'm like, hey man, I used to play with this guy on the radio, and the guy was just like, who cares? And just kept chopping stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Like, I just cool story broed myself.
Sure you did, Vic.
Delusions.
Yeah, that's another thing. I think when I first met you through online, actually, I think I learned this fact through Wikipedia. Actually, is that you were a former member of Mason Proper. Tell us who were Mason Proper?
So the original members started in a band called AV Club. The drummer was named Sam Gould, and John and him must not have got along or something, so they needed a new drummer. And I was kind of a new, unproven, somewhat untalented drummer. So I was drumming for AV Club for a little bit, and then I didn't work out, so they went back to Sam. And so the original members of that band were Brian Konachek on lead guitar, John Visger on rhythm guitar and singing, Pat Stafford on bass, and then Sam was the drummer and I was the drummer. And then when AV Club ended, there was another band that we were same members, but with me back on drums, called Honesty in the Auto Industry. That was one of my favorite ever bands to be in. It was like a Nintendo core band. So John played synth keyboard and sang, and then it was everybody else on the same instruments. And then that band turned into a band called Patterns in Paris, which was more bedroom pop and alternative rock style band, but lots of experimental stuff. John was experimenting with reverse tape loops and mellotrons and stuff like that. And then that band with those songs, at one point I think he just didn't like that name anymore, so we voted and changed the name to Mason Proper. I left the band probably a week after the name change. I think on their first record, I'm maybe on one tambourine and maybe on the song Lights Off.
There's a Moth in Your Chest?
Yep, the first album, which was then remixed by some guy that I think worked for TV on the radio or something like that.
Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't say I was scared, but I was kind of a little bit hesitant to ask you about this because as we know with some bands, especially if you watch Behind the Music back in the day, sometimes there's some animosity. So I didn't know if this was like something you would want to talk about.
No, absolutely. I love John to death and will always like his music. That's why when I was washing dishes and I heard an obvious Abso Facto track, I was like, good for him. There was one night I was driving home and I was listening to NPR, and they played one of my favorite songs by him. It's called Dissolve. That came on the radio, and I yelled. I was just like, yes, this is amazing! And then somebody tried to sideswipe me, so I, like, real quick had to come back to, like, earth.
Yeah, I think I could tell you how I got into Mason proper. There's two ways. One, I got two friends who are also from Alpena that are into Mason proper. They also got me to Ben Folds. And, well, there's also we have a Cool City sign next to Cray Park.
Thanks, Jennifer Granholm.
Yep, thanks, Granholm. Go Gretchen. Anyway. No, on the Cool City sign, on, like, the bottom right corner, there's a little Mason proper sticker sticking there, like, with two robots on them.
Nice.
I was like, Mason proper, what's that? So I, like, looked it up, and I found out, like, I think I found their Wikipedia entry, and it said, like, they are a band from Alpena, Michigan. And I was just like, oh, because growing up in Alpena, here's my sad origin story. Well, no, not really. It's just, when I grew up in Alpena, I just found it really culturally isolating. And unlike a lot of places, like, let's say Chicago or New York, you know, it does seem like there's a lot of, like, real hometown heroes that, like, really made it big. And that's the thing when I looked up Mason proper, when I followed I read up on their timeline, you know, they started here, then they moved to Ann Arbor and got big, put out, like, 2 big albums. You know, There's a Moth in Your Chest, and my favorite, Ollie Ollie Oxen Free. Mm-hmm. Then they broke up, and now doing all their separate projects.
I feel like I saw Brian at the Black Sheep probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. I'm not sure if he's still playing with anybody.
Yeah, I'm about to say...
I completely lost track of Pat Stafford, the original bass player. I know Matt Thompson. I see him on Facebook every once in a while. I think he travels a lot. I don't know if he still plays music. But John is definitely... I think he has won the John Lennon songwriting contest. Like, that dude wakes up every morning, I feel like, and writes 12 songs. Which is probably not the truth, but this is the way that, like, I feel. Like, he is... Even when we were working on the album and stuff like that, like, he just had a backlog of song after song after song after song. So if something didn't work, we'll find something else. Like, he just had a ton of songs.
Yeah. Ollie Ollie Oxen Free is one of those albums, kind of like Pinkerton Blue album.
You just took the words right out of my mouth. That
I love all the songs too. Particularly my first real Mason proper song that really got me into them was From Point A to Point B.
Yep.
That's a great one. Then, you know, I saw a music video for Fog, and I think my current because I kind of switched from now again. Favorite song from them is Outdragging the River.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yep, so much that my first novel, Anamaki, I actually included, you know, I think I'm through with the fighting, you know, that part as like kind of like the beginning of the novel. I actually wanted to call it that, you know, I think I'm through with the fighting, but then I was like, oh wait, they're kind of a big band. Could they sue me for copyright here?
I don't think so, because it's not, and I don't think it's a direct quote, but then again, who knows?
Yeah.
Copyright, like, you can copyright a song that sounds like another song, kind of.
Yeah.
It's in the same key. I guess that's what happened to Robin Thicke and Pharrell about that.
Oh God, that one.
From the people from Marvin Gaye's estate. Or whatever.
Yeah, but yeah, I would say Mason Proper 2 is one of those bands that I really, really, really wish I would have seen live. And I've had my chances when I was like, look up some of their shows on YouTube, of course. Mm-hmm. They played here a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
I think
they played at the college.
Yeah,
college. I got some really good pictures from that.
The Art in the Loft and the bar that's now called the Black Sheep when it was something else. Yeah, and it was all during that time when I was like in Alpena, I think like 2007, 2008. And I knew nothing about them. And God, I'm just so fucking bummed, even to this day. I'm currently crying into my dick right now over missing them.
Crying while you're listening to Ali Ali Oxenfree?
Yeah. I never got to see them when I was just getting into my 20s.
Well, John, he's got stage presence for days. Like, he can definitely lead a room for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like their second album is very much like Pinkerton in that I didn't know what to make of it at first because it was different and they had gone in a very, very, I wouldn't even say different direction, but just continued to experiment and do new crazy stuff. And like the first time I listened to it, I'm like, I don't know if I like it. And then the second time I'm like, it's pretty good. And then the third time I was like, yep, that's what I like. I like that.
Yeah, so, okay, we talked about John with his side projects. What are the other guys doing? Well, you know?
I don't know if any of them are still playing music. John himself just has several side projects. For a while, he and Brian had a side project called Hollow and Akimbo, and those are actually some of my favorite songs that John has done are those Hollow and Akimbo tracks. There's a couple of them that I will listen to on repeat forever. They're just great. Yeah. But I don't know if anybody else is still playing music. Mostly I keep in touch with them over Facebook, and I don't see any musical stuff going on. I'm pretty sure Brian has still got to play because he's such an amazing guitar player. But Pat has completely fallen. I don't think he's on any social media that I know of. So
well, you think here's a big fanboy then asking you, an ex-member, do you think they'll ever come back, reunite as Mason Proper?
I don't know. Somebody would have to convince John because it couldn't happen without him, and we'd literally have to track everybody else down.
All right, I guess I'll get John on here and convince him.
I would love to see him come back and play the Fresh Palette as Abso Facto, but he does South by Southwest. He's doing other stuff now, so it's like for him. You can come back to your roots if you want to, but you don't have to. You owe this town nothing technically because this town really didn't necessarily appreciate its music scene. The town itself. The people in it for sure. And if he wanted to come back and play, he could easily pull a crowd of 500 to 1,000 people.
Yeah, hometown hero
for sure. But at the same time, this town, didn't ever help him on his way. It wasn't like accommodating, like here, play this show here and do this.
Yeah, I felt the same.
It was people that did for him, not the town.
Yeah, I felt the same way growing up. I'm a writer who barely really wrote anything that's publishable up until 2013. Okay, so that's the Mason Proper section of this conversation where I just wanted to geek out there for a sec. All right, final one. Okay, you obviously mentioned, we obviously talked about, your musical career, the bands you've been in, the instruments you played, but you also have a side where you do a lot of recordings, a lot of production. And you used to have a radio show.
Mm-hmm. I used to be a volunteer for a radio station called WXTF LP, which was the first low-power FM station granted an FCC license in the state of Michigan when they opened up the licenses. There is another one in Hillman called WXHR, Hillman Radio. But WTF was the first. I happened to meet somebody that was affiliated with a project called the Alpena Music Project, and they were getting together and everybody was practicing in anticipation of forming a radio station. And a very famous and successful DJ from the West Coast had retired here and had all the equipment to do it and had the know-how to apply to the FCC and had a dream and wanted to start it and did. And I was just lucky enough to fall in with the right people at the right time. And for me, I started off dabbling in the news and weather, playing with the robot voice on a Mac computer, which then the founder of the station, Dave, took that over and turned into an entire character because he had had enough of hearing his own voice, like on big, huge radio stations. So he liked to talk anonymously to the robot, which worked out perfect for everybody. He was able to keep a small amount of distance from it. Because I'm pretty sure he actually has stalkers and stuff like that. Like, I didn't hear all the stories, but he's in the Broadcast Hall of Fame. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, he was the main drive time DJ, I think, in both Chicago. I think there is a day in his honor in San Francisco. Like, he's the real deal.
And now he's up here.
Well, he was up here, but he has since moved back to, I think, California.
Okay.
He wanted to go someplace with actual culture and nice restaurants and stuff like that.
Well, he doesn't like, the really isolated environment.
He did for a while, but after a while you might get lonely.
It's holy shit.
So I fell in with the right people at the right time and dabbling in the news and weather for a little bit, and then I really have always been interested in the music scene up here. and Bandcamp had every track from any band in Michigan you'd ever want. So I started trolling Bandcamp like 6, 7, 8 hours a day finding.
What years were this?
This I don't remember. It was probably 15, 16, something like that. 2015, 2016. But yeah, I just would find good Michigan bands and put them all on a playlist and try to. I wasn't as big about talking about like their history and and what other bands they were in, unless I knew a lot about it. Mostly, I just tried to expose Northeast Michigan to as much Michigan-made music as possible. And the show had gone under, several different names. Sometimes it was called the Local Music Radio Hour, other times it was called Music from the Mitten. My DJ name was DJ Jazzy Jew, so sometimes I called it
Jazzy Jew.
Jazzy Jew because that's my nickname.
You know what? Let's settle this right now, once and for all. Are you Jewish?
I am not a practicing Jew, but I have Jews in my family, which I mistakenly, during my early days of high school, told to some upperclassmen, and it stuck. So yeah.
Okay, because again, to go back to some old photos, you always joke about Weezer being Jewish or having fetal alcohol syndrome.
Yeah, those are the main three. That and I'm a Capricorn. I like long walks on the beach and triple anal fisting. That's my other
and memes.
Jokes and memes
Of
for
course.
sure. But yeah, I just got with the right people and was able to find an outlet for my love of bands from Northeast Michigan and Michigan in general. Some of my favorite ones that I found were like Flint Eastwood. I don't know if you've ever heard
yes,
them.
I know them.
That was a good one.
They got another show coming up, I think near the end of this month at the Pyramid Scheme in Grand Rapids that I plan on attending.
I'm trying to think of some of the other. I mean, just it's funny when you think about how radio happens. You don't realize if you're not a commercial station owned by some giant media conglomerate. There's a lot of work to do to find good music. So
you're not the Bay where it's like, hey, let's play No Doubt's "Hey Baby" for like God knows how many times.
Here's my thoughts about the Bay. Is that for a while, if you don't like country music and you don't like classic rock, the Bay is all there is. And they had a DJ named Mary for the longest time.
Oh God, yes, I know who you're talking about.
But her and I had seen each other at like open mics around here, and she knew about my love for Katy Perry and Lady Gaga. So every once in a while, I'd be listening to the Bay, and she'd like, "This one goes out to Victor," and she would play one of my favorite girly pop songs. So I can't hate on the Bay at all. That is for sure. They are what they are, but there are people there. She's not there anymore, but there were people there who cared. So.
Brother, I could really hate on the Bay.
I
won't do that on here. Actually, I do remember on like one of their events that they were holding. Oh no, it wasn't an event. It was on their Facebook page. There was a visitor post. Some guy was like, "Hey, you think you guys play some Lil Wayne sometime?" And then the person on the Bay wrote back, Hey, Jack, thanks for the suggestion. We personally kind of cater more towards the older crowd, but I'll see what I can do. Which I'm like, of course you do. That's why you have fucking 2 hours of 80s music.
That's the thing. Those commercial radio stations are what they are. That's why low power FM stations are so important. That's why it's so important that we keep on the FCC to keep opening up spectrum for small radio stations like WTF and like the Hillman Radio one.
No, right now we're kind of fighting them over net neutrality.
Yeah, there's that slight problem. Here, let's fake a bunch of articles about how we don't want more internet and more internet freedom. I'll just pie, you jerk.
Yeah, I have a friend who thought like his internet was already being throttled. They wrote, what was his name? How you pronounce it?
Ajit Pai.
Yeah, he's like, Arjit Pai deserves to get his fucking face caved in.
No threats of violence.
And then, of course, he just has some people like, that's not cool, Ang. You shouldn't say that. He's throttling my fucking Netflix.
That's an impeachable offense, mofo.
Oh, God.
Anyway. But that's why community radio is so important, because you're not going to be able to play Lil Wayne on Bay 108. But guess who does play Lil Wayne? WTF sometimes. I'm sure there is someone at some point, whether it was ironically or on purpose, that played, and a lot of times they're like, music you won't hear on any other station, because goddamn, that is the truth. They will play anything, anytime. One night of the week, they played dubstep and electronica.
Oh,
I
God.
love rolling through Alpena County
Dude.
when it's after dark and hearing some sweet, sweet wub wub wub. There's no other place where you can get that, at least in Northeast Michigan.
Oh, is this their latest Skrillex Mouse album?
I mean, we did tons of hilarious stuff. As far as like production, one night we had an entire show just based around, I think it was a Rob Bruce sample saying "Yeah Girl." So we had a button that said "Yeah Girl," and that button got hit 300 times. I mean, you're not going to hear that on other stations.
Yeah. How was the reception to your radio program?
I didn't get a whole lot of feedback from anyone, but the guy that ran the station liked my music that I played, and I was kind of one of the few people that was playing those genres of music. A lot of other people played blues and Americana and bluegrass and stuff like that. Just because a lot of the volunteers were older people, there weren't as many younger. There are more younger people now, and they have people that do live drama type stuff where they're actually telling a story week to week.
That's what's up.
That is really cool and really creative. And there's people now that are into electronica. There was a guy named Beef Loaf, a DJ named Beef Loaf.
Beef Loaf.
Who played...
Not Meatloaf.
Beef Loaf. He played tons of electronica and dance music. But he would also do live DJing where he would crossfade tracks and place effects on it. And it's more than just passively hitting a button and waiting for it to go to the next track or talking about it.
That's the big criticism of DJs. Henry Rollins has a nice little rant about that.
For me, it goes back to what I keep saying, is if you're up there, it doesn't matter what you're doing or whether or not I like it, but you have a small amount of respect because you're up there.
Yeah, I'm
Do
cool.
your thing.
I'm cool with it all probably because I'm not a musician, so I don't take it that seriously.
I mean, for me, even if I don't like your music, I'm looking at what gear you got, or I'm looking what your technique is, or I'm looking at other people bobbing their head along to the music, or how you work the room, or if you got moves, or if you're dressed funny. It all matters, and it all doesn't matter.
Yeah. So how long did the show last?
A couple of years, because I moved away from Harrisville, so I don't do it anymore. But maybe at some point I'd love to start doing it again. I've always had sort of my heart set on doing a politics show, but not under my own name. I want to create a character. Sort of like, I envision a character that lives on a houseboat out in the middle of Lake Huron, who is wildly individualistic and self-sufficient.
So like a survivalist type.
Kind of, but also like the type that really doesn't know what he's talking about, so he's like sort of
so a survivalist type.
So he's also terrible at everything, and I think his name would be like Tank Johnson, like super like almost like a sovereign citizen. Like he loves America, but he also hates America.
Yeah, dude, that's actually a lot of people up here now.
I can't imagine who I would be parodying at all, but I used to do a character that was a cross between Alan Jackson and Randy Travis, and I called him Alan Travis, and pretty much I just made fun of Southerners and talked about freedom and the flag and
I remember
bald eagles.
I remember some comedian, I think it's on YouTube, where like he did a parody of Larry the Cable Guy. It was like Tony the Truck Driver or some shit. And instead of get her done, his whole thing was do up. So he would say something like really offensive, like against Muslims, and then be like, do up. All right. I think we're nearing the end here.
Nearing the end?
Yeah. So, Victor, what holds in the future for you? You currently have a job at the Fresh Palette. Mm-hmm. You have your new band coming up.
Really, I wanna buy a house up here. I would like to have my main dream ever since I can remember having any sort of dream is having a place where I can be loud at any time that I want. Because a lot of times when the creative juices start flowing for me, it's not a convenient time for neighbors or for other stuff like that.
So basically not with our dear friend Adam Newman, who has the neighbor that does face YouTube rants on him.
Although when I was playing with John in Honesty in the Auto Industry, we were in a house on the north side that I had previously rented, and then some guys from the band were then renting. You could play anytime, day or night, because the neighbors next door, their dog was barking 24/7, so everybody just tuned any amount of noise.
We're kind of canceling each other out here.
And one time we were practicing, and it was winter, and Lincoln School had just let out, and some kids found some dog turds in the snow, and they could see and hear us playing music, and so they put dog turds inside of snowballs and started chucking them at the big bay window. So at one point, we are in a dog shit snowball fight with a bunch of elementary students, and it will be, to my dying day, one of the funniest, happiest moments of my life.
Don't you miss those times when we were young and spontaneous like that?
I will be young and spontaneous when I leave this place in 15 minutes. So,
well, granted, I never did the whole dog shit snowball thing.
Hey, it took the wisdom of children to come up with that idea.
No, back in my day, it was like, yeah, let's take these snowballs inside, get them a little bit wet, and then take them outside and throw them at whoever and hope their eye doesn't go out.
I did dumb stuff as a kid, like where we would make the giant snow boulders and we'd just block side streets. And then we'd hide behind a snowbank and wait for somebody to come up and just see this roadblock of giant snow boulders and be like, what the fuck? Come on, kids. And then we'd laugh at them and run away.
Oh, that's vicious.
I was a terrible kid. Children are terrible. Or at least I was.
Everything is terrible.
Everything is terrible.
Yeah. All right, Victor, where can we find you online? Like, is there any links, any promos?
You can search for me on Snapchat. I just have a spoonerism of my name, so instead of Victor
Kahn.
Kahn, it's Kictorvahn. So Victor Kahn on Snapchat. I obviously can't speak my snap code and make you be able to I think I'm Victor Kahn on Twitter too, but I never use it. I'm kind of private on my Facebook just because it's under my own name and it's all my friends.
So you don't want me linking that in the comments so everyone can see your fresh memes?
I mean, you could, but if I don't know them, I might not friend them. But I might at the same time if we have mutual friends, which we probably will. So feel free you can probably link my Facebook, which I think is just VictorKahn.3 or something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that,
and you do have a SoundCloud.
I do have a SoundCloud, and that's just SoundCloud/Victor_Kahn, I'm pretty sure, something like that. I used to have a YouTube channel, and I used to make videos with Adam Newman. We did parodies of anti-drug commercials. Someday when I get a nice, place again and I have money, I'm gonna start making silly meme videos again.
I finally remembered the name quickly. Adam's neighbor. His name isn't John Picker, is it?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Oh God. Oh.
You'd have to ask Adam, but there's a good chance.
That's a good point. I should try to get Adam on here again.
He's a busy man, and he does have a daughter, so you'd have to pick his time. But
Adam will figure something out if you're listening.
I'd be interested in listening to Adam talk about whatever for an hour or two.
All right. Well, I guess that's the show. Thanks for everyone for listening. Thank you, Victor, for being on. Thank you for listening to me ramble for however long this was. Normally when I ramble, people tune out and walk away. Yep. I would love to have you back on if you're ever interested. Anytime, and any topic, because I love talking about politics, I love talking about memes, and I love just talking, so. Yeah, we should do that again sometime. I'm definitely excited for that. It shall be arranged. Sweet. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. You can check out all of Victor's stuff, which I'll link in the comments section. You can check out everything about me on my official website, garretschuelke.tumblr.com. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Facebook, YouTube. If you search my name, you will probably find me one way or another. Oh, and we're also on Facebook. The Garret Schuelke podcast finally has a Facebook page. It's currently at 71 likes. Let's jack that up to 75. I will help you with that. I will definitely link that. Yep. You probably already downloaded this episode off the Internet Archive, but you can find all episodes there. And all episodes are now streaming on YouTube because I finally got a bug in my ass and decided to put that all up on there, which I probably should have done day one. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. And here's the outro song.